It is another week and another brand new episode of the Granny Panty Podcast. I'm your host, RubyLynne. If you'd like to follow me, the host, you can go to rubylynne.com where it's all things Ruby. Definitely please hit that subscribe button here for the Granny Panty Podcast. You can also follow us on TikTok and Instagram. This week's guest is amazing. I have admired her for quite a long time, and I've been fortunate enough to have been on her podcast several times. And finally, we were able to find a time for her to be on this one. So help me welcome the iconic businesswoman like no other, Lisa Ann. Lisa Ann, I am so excited to have you on the show this week. I have wanted to connect with you and get you on for a chat, and I know you've been super busy. So thank you for making the time.
It's just so hard for me because I talk so much for a living on so many different spaces that sometimes it's really just, well, like, can we hang out and just not talk? Because, yeah, then we can
Right.
get together.
I can identify with that. Yes. I think being busy in the business that we are in, there's some points, like this past weekend, I'm like, I don't even want to do anything. I don't want to chat with anyone.
It's like recharging the social battery, right?
Yes.
It's just as important. You're refilling the well. And it's fun because when you are that busy, you're never caught up on your TV shows. There's always a
Yep.
movie that came out that people are talking about that you didn't get to see yet. And I feel like by the time we get our time to decompress, it's like, where do I start? So
Yeah.
it's fun.
I love that. Well, I'm excited today. I want to hear about your projects you have going on and your podcasts that you have on Sirius XM and how that all came about. And yeah, you're just busy. You don't let any grass grow under your feet.
I like to stay moving. I feel like having a lot of different things, it allows me to be in reach with a lot of different people.
Mhm.
Though it was great being home when we needed to be home,
Right.
the fact that I'm going into studio and I'm in with my co-host Brett Raybold and my producer Paul together, and we get to see people. We get in early, we have a coffee. I know a ton of people from
Mhm.
working for Sirius for 10 years. And so I'm in the building, and there's something so exciting about that I'm like, oh, I forget I'm working. I'm just socializing. So a lot of the things that I do, that I put into my life, that I choose, are things that I'm like, how is this going to add a layer that's going to have some lasting flavor? Like
Yep.
writing a book, you're an author as well. Each show you go to, it's new to somebody and you have something else to share with somebody or to talk about. It's these things that we just keep involving ourselves with. So
Mhm.
there's a difference between being recklessly busy and being really deliberate
Yes.
and keeping it moving, right? Because I have
Right.
my downtime, but I keep enough out there to keep everyone engaged. And I realized that I was so focused on making this transition to see if anybody would take me seriously verbally, right? To see if anyone
Gotcha.
would take me seriously.
Right.
And so sports radio, I dove in so hard. And what's funny, Ruby, is I've recently realized that nobody knew what I did for the past 10 years because most of the people I know don't play fantasy football. And I just
Gotcha.
think because all my friends play, everybody plays fantasy football. Everybody knows. And so finally, this show, Better Halves, which is on Raw Comedy Channel 99 on Sirius XM,
Mhm.
this show, my neighbors are like, oh, I heard your show. My friends will text me, like, I'm in my car, like, I'm listening to your show. And I'm like, they're like, where you been? I'm like, I've been covering fantasy football for 10 years. Like, oh, yeah,
Right.
So this has gotten me kind of rediscovered, which is very exciting.
I love that. And so where did the idea for this show come from?
So, one of the my producer Paul, reached
Mhm.
out to me for a Valentine's Day show 2023. So, one of the things I always did with SiriusXM was had a great rapport and said anybody needs me to come in on a guest spot. There were shows where I was actually their replacement when they would go on vacation. I would lead the show. So,
Wow,
I
that's
wanted to make
awesome.
sure I could fit into every kind of thing. And so, the comedy channel reached out to me and said, "Hey, we'd love to do a one-off with you on Valentine's Day with like a comedian, and we'll get a bunch of like email listener questions
Mhm.
and voicemail questions, and from there we'll do a Q&A. Who
Mhm.
can you get?" Well, it was right after the AVN in 2023,
Mhm.
and Matt Rife had just done the AVN, but I didn't get to see his show, and so I reached out to Matt Rife, and he did it virtually. So it was me and
Wow.
Matt Rife doing this one-off show for Raw Comedy Channel 99 on Sirius XM, and they loved it. And so after that, it just started this conversation with them and my agent. And it's kind of slow. It's a large company, and I'm like, this is something I'd love to do. I'd love to see what it is I love about this part of my life. And I realized
Mhm.
through this, I like to host. I like to have two very entertaining people in the room, a lot less pressure on me. And I kind of just keep the conversation going back and forth. I really realized this is what I like doing. I mean, covering sports was so much studying, and it was such an escape from reality when I needed it. But this
Mhm.
is fresh and light, and it can be more topical. I can tell stories about things that happen in the business. Like,
Right.
I taught my co-host Brett Raybold what a lot lizard is. The
Oh.
chicks. He had no idea. He'd never heard this expression. And because he drives a lot doing comedy, I was like, you
Right.
should probably know, about the lot lizards. So I didn't get to talk about that kind of stuff when I was doing fantasy football. So I'm
Gotcha.
thrilled.
I love it. Yeah, and I've watched the excerpts. I don't personally have SiriusXM. I used to when I was a caseworker and drove a lot, but I've heard your excerpts on social media, and it seems like a great show. And you're not new to SiriusXM, like you said. You've hosted a few other shows there, but you're very good at hosting, so this is natural for you.
Yeah, which I didn't really know how this was going to flow. So I'm
Mhm.
I'm really enjoying what I'm learning about what I learned covering sports. Again, I like sports so much that I felt like I was just having a conversation with my friend who just so
Mhm.
happened to be my co-host, and people might have been listening. And now I realize I actually did learn a lot about the art of communicating. You have to think, when you're working in radio, people get
Mhm.
in and out of their car on the average every 7 to 11 minutes.
Right.
And so when you have to visualize someone getting in their car and they turn it on, you kind of have to reintroduce what you're doing every couple of minutes, and bring back to a guest and maybe say a little bit something about them. So
Mhm.
that I like that, keeping my mind super active for the hours that you sit there and do that back and forth.
It's definitely an art. What would you say is your, productivity hack? I mean, for staying centered, because you have a lot of businesses and things that you do, which is I admire you so much, for being such a businesswoman. So talk to us about how you keep everything organized.
Okay, I think one of the things is I do believe in going to bed early, and that's not for everyone, right? So
Mhm.
that right there is a big hack to me, because I can get up, get in my entire workout and everything I want to do for myself by 8 o'clock in the morning, and be done in the shower, getting ready for my day, getting ready to be available to offer myself to other people, to be
Mhm.
able to tackle my list of things I need to do. And that morning time is what really sets my day in motion.
Mhm.
I don't look at emails when I first wake up. I don't check messages. I don't do any of that. I go right to sports radio. I see what happened when I was sleeping. I listen to that till I get down to the gym. Then when I get to the gym, it switches over to music. It's the one time I really get to listen to music. Uh, and I just zone out. And then I start to feel alive. And you get a good workout, a really good workout this morning. And I was just like dying. And I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so good.
Yeah.
By the time I sit in the sauna, I'm ready. So I think it's about putting your health first.
Mhm.
It stabilizes me so much to get all of that angst out of the way, and to be a little bit relaxed, so the endorphin release to help me get through the hump of like the shower and putting my makeup on, all those things. But being regimented. So I do have an ongoing list of what's most important, a first things first kind of
Mhm.
list, right? You can't do everything. And one of the hacks I
Yep.
learned years ago is if something takes less than 10 minutes to do, you should never transfer it from one list to another. You should just do it.
Get
So
it
if it's like
done, right?
schedule a dentist appointment, so like each time you're, rewriting these things down, but being deliberate about that. And also I do keep a pretty good time code in my day so I don't let myself drift. I don't have the time that I'd like to be on engaging on social media as much during the day. I do what I can, but if I'm on a call or if there's a group Zoom that I'm doing, they can get wily. And next thing you know, 2 hours of your day is
Right.
consumed. So I'll try to set a timer. But I also believe in a cutout time where
Yeah.
it's time to shut it all down. And I'll tell you what, I think that is the toughest thing with OF and with all of these platforms
Yep.
is you feel bad because you understand that it's nighttime for somebody, and that's probably when they want to engage, right?
Right.
But yet you want to be asleep. I don't want anyone else running my page. So everyone knows my schedule and it's okay. But I've now learned you can pre schedule messages, but you can't engage back and forth. You
Right.
can't,
Right.
and you just feel this 24/7 pressure
Yes.
of constants. And I've been trying to talk to my people in my page that are
Mhm.
new, like, hey, don't put too much pressure on creators because, like, when
Right.
they come in, they get your welcome video or your message,
Yep.
and then it's boom. And then it's boom, 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 boom. And it's
Mhm.
like 2:42, 2:44, 2:46. So, all right, good morning. I am so sorry that at 2:42, 4, 6, 8, 3 a.m.,
Right.
I was not available. Like, how unrealistic are your expectations? I think a lot of them have been trained by people who have a 24/7 service, whatever. But I believe in a shutdown time. So if I know
Yes.
there's an NBA game on, I'm going to go back to the zone and be watching my TV and texting with just my friends.
Right.
And, that's just what I want to do.
Right.
Sometimes I like to do a little online looky-looing at some stores on my iPad while I'm watching a game. That's my time. Maybe
Yes.
I want to be outside reading. So I believe we got to have a cutoff time. And, I was talking about mental health on my
Mhm.
podcast today and being mindful of other people. And I think it's unfair when people send business emails on weekends, let alone
Right.
holiday weekends, because none of this is that urgent. And to protect
Right.
each other, being mindful of each other's space, I think is what I work a lot on Sundays. I just like to get ahead of the week, but I write all of my emails on Word docs because I'm afraid to put them in
Ah,
drafts and send them by accident. I
right.
write them on Word docs and then I have a list of the Word docs that I'm going to email out in the morning. I do it East Coast people who are up first, then West Coast later, because I'm very fortunate that people respect me and they like me. And when they see an
Mhm.
email from me, they feel they need to do something about it.
Right.
I don't want you to feel you need to do something about it 2 o'clock on a Sunday. I'll wait till 10 a.m. on Monday. So
That's
I
a
think
good hack. That's
yeah,
a great thing to put it in a Word document. But yes, I know that culture of the fan sites and being available all the time, like, makes me neurotic to some degree, and I have, that's been one of my new things is trying to be like, "Okay, at X time every day, I'm logging off. I don't care how many messages I see come in." And it's
because it's
hard to
still
train
7
yourself.
days a week. It's still
Oh, yeah.
7 days a week.
Yep.
Still 7 days a week. Let's take that into consideration.
Yeah, because people ask me about something, "What do you do in your off time?" And I'm kinda like, "What off time?" I mean, a Sunday is no different to me than a Wednesday. They're all about the same. So it is hard, but like you, I have it right on my profile. I run this account by myself, and I'm Pacific Standard Time, so, you know, make that work for you however you can, but yes, that culture of being available immediately is tough.
It is. And you can say to yourself,
Mm.
I'm just going to check a couple of more messages. And you'll look up and what's gone by? An hour's gone by. Maybe 90 minutes has gone by. And I'm like, okay, whoa, now it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I should be decompressing already.
Right,
It's not
right.
healthy.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you found a way to shut it down, and I think everybody should do that. I'm trying to practice it more. I'm getting better.
I mean, I
I'm
get
getting
yelled
better.
at constantly. My first round of messages the next day is me having to explain myself why I wasn't available when everybody texted me while I was sleeping.
Right.
Yes.
Ugh, crazy. I want to talk to you too about your wine and how that's going. I was fortunate enough to share wine with you when we were in New Jersey at the same time in October, last October. But now I see it's available in different wine shops. So tell me about how the whole wine. I know you had a trip to Italy.
So, but way before the trip to Italy. So, in 2018, I spent a month in Italy. And it was then that I realized I had such a connection that I'd like to start learning more about the country and potentially, go through what it takes for dual citizenship, which now, you can have a grandparent's birth certificate. It's not difficult, right? They do have
Right.
this program. And I thought it'd be a great place to retire. I love the pace of life there. I love the healthcare system there. Like,
Yeah.
there's just a lot of benefits there, safety wise. There's no guns there. Like, there's just things there that really. So I said, well, and I kept talking to all of my friends about it. Like, this is. And just putting it out to the universe that I'm going to have a small place in Italy. Maybe I'll do Airbnb with it for a while. Maybe I'll retire there, whatever. But I'm visualizing it. And I'm visualizing it on different grand schemes, like a
Mhm.
place with a garden. Da, da, da. And one of my friends comes to me. He's like, "Hey, family friends of mine in Sicily are trying to get their wine to the US. They would really love to meet with someone from here and work together and do a collab and private label. And they'd like to send you over all their different blends and do this." So this took about a year and a half of
Okay.
just back and forth because it takes anywhere from 2 to 3 months to get something here from there because it
Oh.
has to come through customs. It is alcohol, so then it has to. It's a whole process, right? And so when the harvest was last year, I went there to watch the harvest for this upcoming year so I could really learn about what makes it so different
Mhm.
there as opposed to here when it comes to everything from the truth of everything really being truly organic
Mhm.
to, the difference in even their water there. There's no fluoride in their water. There's no the
Right.
chemicals that we have, forever chemicals that we have in our water are also not watering their plants. So, like, all of these things, it's very different. So I want to really learn about it, get to know the family. And that was it. I realized, okay, so Sicily, it's Ganji, it's right in the center of the island. It's the highest altitude. It's this beautiful little city, population of 6,000 people, but there's over
Wow.
20 churches. The
Ah,
faith, the community, the people, they're just amazing. And we loved it there. So I am now bringing over more. And what I
okay.
did first was, and this has been something that's been crazy, is I just not easy to get alcohol into multiple states, and you have to be able to sell it too, right? You have to pay to
Right.
store it, right? So I knew here, easy. I have a lot of connections in this area. I know how much approximately I could move. And since we brought our first pallets over, then I knew what I could, so easier. One store right now, perfect. They're friends of mine, Williamsburg Wine and Liquor, a beautiful Italian family, kind people. They have a place next door, Fortunato's sandwiches and pastries. And it felt really like the magic of
Mhm.
Sicily and my home that only people that I personally know up
Mhm.
until this point are selling my wine, no
Wow.
strangers. And so people are like, "Oh, you can have it here." I'm like, "Look, everybody comes to New York. You could go into the little spots that I love and feel the essence of me and kind of see where I frequent, what New York is like from my eyes. And then you could try Lisa by Lisa Ann. The red is the Rello Mascales, the white is the Grillo. And you can follow Lisa by Lisa Ann on IG at Lisa by Lisa Ann. You can see all the locations that have the
Awesome.
wine. Um, and so right now we're in that holding pattern where we're just waiting
Okay.
for more to come over. And I'm already looking at properties. I'm doing 2 hours a day of
Wow.
Italian language lessons right now. But it is a place where I'd like to have a place for sure, whether I live there full time or I'm just back and forth. It is so peaceful. And
That
I
is
love I
awesome.
love the people there so much.
Awesome. So your wine is available in restaurants. That's where it started first. But is it only available for purchase outside of a restaurant at the Williamsburg or
Yep.
no?
In
Okay.
one liquor store so
Okay.
far. It's in Brooklyn and Williamsburg. It's
Wow.
Williamsburg Wine and Liquor, so you can get it there. So I know
Okay.
that there's delivery. People get it and order it. Delivery, my neighbors have. But I'm gonna bring it into more stores next month. I'll be out
Mhm.
campaigning again, meeting new people because more will be coming over, and then I'll be going back over there again as well.
That is amazing. Will when you go back over there, will you be testing out different blends or
So I did that when I was there for the harvest, which was really neat, and also learned so much about how they dehydrate wines, how the altitude there takes away the sugar. Because I'm
wow.
normally not a white wine, too much sugar for me, but this is such a beautiful, smooth with a nice flavor. And I just I dove in. I just dove completely in, but I didn't speak enough Italian, and there was only one person there that spoke a little English. So I was like, okay, now I'm Emily in Paris. I'm going over to work with people and I don't speak the language. How rude. So we're doing it. We're
That's so
listening
cool.
as much as we can. Yeah.
That is amazing. And so eventually you'll probably expand the line, right? To
I
different
probably will. I probably will. I want to see how I want to move it. I think I'd
Mhm.
rather expand through partnership deals, like in Vegas through one big partnership deal where we
Right.
co-label and then you take 5 pallets and I'm out. Now that I
Mhm.
understand the math in this, I know how much I want to get involved. The profit margin and the social margin. First of all, I don't like to go out at night. So going out all the time for wine tastings and
Right.
drinking wine regularly, I'm like, oh, this is so much. So, I'm going to let it happen, right?
Yeah.
For now, it's an introduction to this space for me.
Mhm.
It's an excuse to go to Sicily and learn more and find where I'd love to be. And maybe the escape would be I would be a tour guide at the winery when they open their boutique hotel in the next 5-ish years. They're working on a boutique hotel there right now. So, looking at like future plans, I could see me
Right.
being Duolingo for Americans that want to come over to the winery for a couple of days on holiday.
I love that. Okay, I'm gonna start saving now for that Italian trip.
Yeah, we'll start in Palermo. We'll go to Cefalù, which is where I'd like to buy a place.
Mhm.
It's the great beach city, and then we'll do the hour and a half drive up. We'll not drive there at night though.
Let's do it. I love that. What is the biggest challenge you're facing right now in your business? What's a challenge that's really come up to you recently, and how are you tackling that?
I say the biggest challenge I face is managing the expectations of others
Okay.
and always being tactful about managing those expectations. It
Mhm.
can be exhausting, constantly. I think people put a lot of pressure on us. I don't know about you, but there's a lot of pressure, and sometimes I'm like, okay, where did you get these expectations? I'm one person,
Right.
how could you? And also, I just feel there's a space of a generation right now
Mhm.
that wants an answer for everything but doesn't want to do the research. And so I get so many wasted emails in my mailbag, so many
Mhm.
wasted comments on my live stream about people pretty much just wanting me to hold their hand to do something like, oh, can you
Right.
help me out writing a book? Or, oh, can you help me out with this? I just got an email today. The kid's like, can you teach people how to communicate like you? Because the internet has robbed us of that. And I'm like, triggered because I'm like, robbed who? You're in charge of what you're doing on the internet. I'm
Right.
using it to learn Italian right now. I've learned to learn sign language. I've learned it to cook. Like, so I think that the level of people that come to me and use and say to me, I have mental health issues, I've got this going on, I've got this going on. I feel a lot of pressure by that because I don't know how to manage those expectations. I don't want to let anybody down or be not empathetic, but like when you're doing a live stream and all you want to talk about is people who have died recently, I'm like, bro, like I can't. This is a live stream. There's a bunch of other people in this room. Why are you doing this to me? Why are you making my life like this right now? It's weird. Um, it's a very straight, even in my messages in OF, I get more questions that should be Googled
Yes.
than questions that I need to be answering. I'm not a mighty wizard. I'm just a human being who figured it out on her own. And I figured it out before the internet when I had to mail my photos that I had to hire a photographer to take, get printed out, and mail to California to get in the industry. Oh my gosh, what would they do?
Yeah. Yeah, to have to physically our society has become such an instant gratification society, which, online just has fed that.
But it's
So
your choice to delay gratification. It's so important. But so I think that would really be it. The
right.
constant pressure of managing everyone else's expectations. I know what I want to be doing. I know
Mhm.
where I'm headed. I'm always got my plan and my mission, but those people that come at you that you're like, what can I do to manage this better? I don't want to just block these people, but
Right.
they're very exhausting. And at the end of the day, they're pretty toxic because they could be
Yeah.
doing that to this somebody else that's going through something that just isn't out there announcing it every day. I think it's a cry for attention. I mean, how many virgins do you have in your messages pleading their lives of
Oh,
why
yes.
they're virgins? Okay. And I'm like, brah, you're just being lazy. Okay.
Yeah.
I got one word for you, lazy. And I'm sorry for you. Lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. A
They
very
let the,
lazy society. You have hit the nail on the head for sure.
and it's a choice, right? You cannot allow the internet to come in between you and real life experiences. Like I'll give you the example this weekend. I
Yes.
knew I was going to be at my building all weekend with my neighbors. I'm not going to be on my phone.
Mhm.
I'm going to forget to post. I forgot to schedule stuff in advance. So I look like a real loser. But at the same time, there comes a time where you're just like, you got to let it go. And
Right.
I was just, I'm at the pool. We have a barbecue. I am out all day, 11 o'clock in the morning till 9 p.m., having the best time.
Mhm.
That is so important because that night I didn't even clean up my kitchen. So I was going to shower. I'll wake up on a Sunday, some mass on a Monday, Memorial Day. It'll be fun to clean up because I was so happy of
Mhm.
the actual interactions that I had all day. All the different conversations, all the different laughs, all the
Yep.
different songs that were picked at the pool that we talked about where that song took us to, or, just people staying at a good vibration, keeping things light. There was no news talk, there was no politics, there was no religion, there was no money, there was no what do you do for a living, there was no nothing. It was just
Yeah.
fun. And I think the internet, if you haven't done that in a while,
Mhm.
you lose how to be in a group and have a big conversation where you have to let other people talk and you have to listen, and it's not all about you and all of your problems.
Right.
So I think
Right.
that's a big thing.
I think COVID, I know for me, I'm very outgoing, but COVID, that shutdown made me an introvert to some, when everything opened back up, I'm like, I don't even want to go to the grocery store anymore. I'm just going to, continue to have it all delivered. So, yeah, you're right. Getting that interaction. And I will have an experience like that coming up. A friend of mine who lives local in the industry is nominated for the Alt Porn Awards. I'm not nominated. I'm not really alt. Maybe I am. But she asked me to attend with her. And I am so excited because I have no expectations. I have nothing scheduled that I have to be at this shoot or this podcast, nothing. I'm like, I can just go as a person.
You're like that guest at a wedding that just gets to flutter around and talk to everyone and have a great time, which is fantastic. What would you say your biggest challenge that you're facing right now in business is, Ruby?
Oh, my biggest challenge, there's probably two. One is the economy because, everything I do is tip based or subscription based. So that's a huge challenge. But I've also talked to really big creators while I was at XBiz Miami and just other people I'm fortunate to know, and everybody's in the same boat. I think a lot of people aren't talking about it. That's a huge challenge, and for me, it's time management. Um, so just like you said, figuring out that, yeah, I don't need to answer every single "hey" on OF or somewhere else. So that's kind of my challenges right now.
Yeah, because you're pulled in so many directions, whether it's social
Yeah.
media, OF, whatever platform it's on, you're pulled in so many, and you have to. Even for me, midday, I like to take an hour and I consider it a lunch break because there
Mhm.
was a time in this world that was normal. And I will,
Right.
do like a 30-minute walk, go to
Yeah.
cryo, maybe eat something when I get back, but just like an hour. And I have a couple of things that have stacked up during that hour, emails, what have you. Then I sit down with a coffee and I start to go through them again. There is no reason for us to believe we have to answer everything in real time. I have
Yeah.
no notifications on except text message.
That's
So
amazing.
nothing comes into my phone, and my phone is permanently on silent. So nothing is that immediate. That's something I really grew. But time management is so important because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. So you
That's
still
true.
want to be taking time for you. If there's a book that you want to sit down and read and you sit down and do it, you feel so good afterwards. And you know what?
Yes,
It's okay. It's okay. People can wait.
that's true.
But the
And
economy is real, and I don't think it's going to get better until this election is over. I think we're in for
exactly.
a bit of a stirring,
Right.
and it's a time where, this is when I meet newer performers and creators. I'm like,
Yeah,
please save as much as you can, because though you can do
that's
really
right.
well, you can have months where you're like, whoa, like
Yeah,
I remember it being at the club. You could go to a club one night, make $100. You could go the next night, make $5,000.
right, right. Yeah, that's exactly how it is. And speaking of time management, as we get near the end here, tell us, are you working on any big projects? Are you writing another book? What do you got in the works, Lisa?
I am in the process. So there's two books in the process. One's going to be a fun, just coffee table book. So should be pretty
Nice.
quick and easy to get out there. And then the other one, I'm going, kind of through that rabbit hole right now, so that when I sit down, I can be really clear and deliberate with
Mhm,
my writing. But I like to write. I love to read. So I think, before I like to write, I read a lot. So I did
mhm.
2 books this weekend.
Wow.
I'm on a bit of a tear right now, and I'm almost through my right now. I'm reading a book that if I didn't have to be working, I'd be sitting outside reading it right now. It's called Notorious COP, and it's
Oh.
the first cop that was hired for like the hip hop division, when the
Oh,
gangs and the hip hop, the rapper, and how they were, and it's fascinating, the history of this. And I saw him doing some interviews when all of this Diddy stuff came up, and I was
yeah.
like, you know what? I'm gonna order that book. That sounds like a fun read, like an escape read. Normally, I'm reading books that are gonna make me better because I want to work on myself and I always want to be better. But yeah, I will keep
Dang.
you posted on those, and I'm gonna see you at all Exoticas this year, right?
I wish, I wish. Maybe New Jersey.
Okay, got
Maybe
it.
New Jersey, yeah.
Okay, it's the best show.
I've had a lot of travel, fortunately, doing some shoots, so, like, I go straight from Vegas from alt porn to LA for a couple shoots, so I'm excited about that, but
Great.
and you will be at every Exotica. Let's
I
plug
will.
that.
I will be in Miami in June, which is June 28th, 29th, and 30th. On the Saturday of the 29th, I'll be hosting at the Gold Rush Cabaret. I will be the
Nice.
host, sitting stage side with our fans as Christiana Sin and Katie Cush do their shows. We
Nice.
have October for the Jersey show. We have December for the DC show. I have a lot going on with Sapphire, all their locations in the city. And I host a podcast for them called Lisa Ann's Backstage Combos. It comes out every other week this summer. That's how we're doing the summer season. So you can find all of that. But all of my stuff is the same at The Real Lisa Ann. And my wine is Lisa by Lisa Ann.
I love it. Lisa, thank you so much. I just have goosebumps having this conversation. I always enjoy sitting down with you,
I do
and
too.
so
That's why I love going to Exoticas, is to get to sit down and do these things in person. Just
yeah,
talk.
yeah, speaking of which, in New Jersey, I think there was 4 of us, and it
Yep.
was just like a living room
Talking.
convo, and
Yep.
I cherished that time. That was
Me
amazing.
too.
So, thank you again so much. You can find Lisa at thereallisaan.com. Bye-bye.